So, how old are you now?
68.
68. How does it feel to be 68?
Better than 63.
I want to talk to you about longevity. It is everywhere. What's your feeling about this hitting 100? Is it important to you?
Not interested. For me, it's all about, when you get to a certain age, the idea of wanting to live till 100 or 200, why? I figure like you're on this planet long enough.
Yes.
You've done your work. You've done whatever you're meant to do in this life. You've had a great time or a lousy time. I've had mainly a great time. So how much longer do I want to do it? We live in a really crazy world. So, my number I always tell people is 85. That's a good time.
Wait till you turn 85, girl.
And then people go, wait, you're going to turn 85? Then let's see what you say. If I'm still feeling great, I could still dance all night, and I could still create new work, I'm in.
About your work. And so now you said you're 68?
Yeah.
So are you on any prescriptions?
No.
So that's what I want to talk about. What do you think is the biggest hype out there about being a fit, healthy woman? Or man?
Most of the time at my age, I go to I don't go to doctors, but if I do and I have to fill out the forms, they're usually shocked that I haven't had, that I'm not on prescription drugs. I haven't had major surgeries. I don't have a heart condition. I'm not diabetic. I'm not, there's all these things that basically when you get to a certain age, a lot of people have.
Yes.
And so for me, the important thing is to keep doing what I love. And I am a body person. So for me, it's continuously tweaking the body. How do you get it as good as you can get it at every age? Not accepting that, I hit my 60s, so I'm going to be square.
Yes.
So many women turn into these like thick bodies, don't have to go there. But if you think that you're not going to go there by doing nothing because you were thin when you were young, forget it.
Well, that's what I want to talk about too. How you changed your physical fitness through the decades. Were you a workout queen and then then you swam, or tell us about how you've done it. What's your secret?
I was never, ever a fitness diva. I was never into that. But I was always a yogi from the time I was 14. But at a certain point, there was this woman named Molly Fox, and she had the hottest music, and she had the best aerobic class.
I went there.
You went, right? So it was hot. Mm-hmm. And there were all these Broadway actresses, and the class was fun, and people were screaming out stuff, and and so I got into doing that. And then it's maybe I did it for a couple of years, and then I just didn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But I never really stopped doing yoga and breathing and stuff like that. And then because I am a body person and I fix injuries, at a certain point I realized I needed to empower people to be able to fix their own bodies.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, yes.
And problem solving their own bodies, so they didn't need me, so they could keep it going and they could understand what their issues are and how to keep those issues controlled and so that they didn't get exacerbated through the years. And so I developed my work called Body Rolling. I had my master work, which was a hands-on work called Body Logic. And then I created a footwork because I realized we stand on our feet. And if you don't think, if you think that you're going to be able to wear stilettos for the rest of your life, well, you're a stupid head, okay? Because the bottom line is, if you don't take care of your feet when you're young, you're going to have to stop wearing them, And the thing is that I actually still can. And when I put on high heels, but I don't put on high heels, it always feels great. So I get it. I really get it, why women love that.
Yeah. So we have a young audience out there, so I would ask, how much work is it? Let's just talk about the feet work. How much work is it?
I do between 15 and 30 minutes a day on my feet. And I do that because I just had a hip replacement.
Yeah.
Okay? So I am a transparent person from all my years of working on bodies and seeing sometimes 10 people a day, 60 people a week. For many, many, many years, I did too much in this body. And so my hip gave way. Some injuries along the way too, but and so I know that the feet are the end of the line when it comes to your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, your feet. And so I work on it every day because I don't want to do it again.
So what do you think is the biggest hype about fitness or about wellness from Western world, from the world we live in? What do you think is the biggest hype young women fall for?
Cardio. This idea that you've got to keep doing cardio so that you can burn calories, so that you can eat whatever you want, and you can lose weight. I think that that's not smart unless you are so in touch with your alignment that everything you do, whether it's the treadmill or it's the bicycle or you run, unless you're really trained, you're going to hurt yourself.
So what do we do instead?
And you don't, thick, fatty joints are not sexy.
Yeah.
So a lot of women get that when they get older because of all the pounding. So, I'm more yoga based. I'm body rolling based. I'm into breath work. My daughter and I do 10,000 steps. Okay. So that's something that's, this new thing, on the phones, to stay in shape. I don't think it makes you stay in shape. Something to do with my daughter.
Yeah. Your physical practices each day, have they varied from, let's say, age 30 to age 40 to age 50? Has it softened or?
It's really interesting because when I was in my 30s, I was doing, like I said, 60 hours. I was working 60 hours a week on bodies, fixing injuries. And I didn't have a whole lot of time after that. I had a baby, single mom, and so I didn't have a whole lot of time for anything else except when I did have time, I did a yoga practice. And since I started doing yoga so young, I could do it in my home. I could do it, anywhere. So it went from yoga, and the thing is now, I get into, we all get into a rut. We pick one workout and we just do it. And so when I turned 60, I said, okay, my most important work on my body is going to be breathing. And so I did that really religiously every day. And then all of a sudden I decided, you know what? What about all the rest of you? Yeah. And I'm always filling in, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not doing something.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking at other things, other parts of the body, and for example, if I feel like I'm getting a little bit too short between my ribs and my hips because I'm sitting at that computer for too long, then I do a whole bunch of stuff to lengthen myself out and get my curves back.
All right, so it's varying. I like that. And swimming.
Oh, and in the summer, I put on my fins and my mask, and I'm in Ibiza, the island of Ibiza, famous Ibiza in Spain. And I swim with my mermaid sister Vivian, and we swim probably up to 3 kilometers a day. But that's not exercise, you see. I look at that as I'm in the sea, I see all these fish, the rock formations, I search for starfish, and it's another thing. That's more for me like a meditation than I'm going to hardcore swim.
I know you worked on me when I was very, very tight, too tight, from working out with trainers, big trainers when I was younger. What's your feeling about that? Young women working out with big trainers and kind of beating the hell out of them?
Well, a lot of times women like to work out with these really sexy, hot, buffed trainers. And these guys don't have a clue about what this woman really needs. But there's this unspoken communication going on. She feels real good and sexy because she's with this hot young trainer. And he's enjoying that because she's taking him serious about what he knows, maybe. And he's getting paid for it.
So is it too much weight work, or is it just pounding yourself too much?
Well, if he's really buffed and he's into, bodybuilding, that's what he's going to give to her.
Yeah.
And what I always say to women is, look at the person that's training you. Do you want to look like that? So.
Good point. Yeah. So how has sex and relationships changed for you as you've gotten older?
Oh, I think it's changed tremendously. I think that women, once they're, over their perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, a lot of times women don't care about it as much, okay? And, I had a trauma in my life with my daughter, and I certainly didn't think of anything sexual until she started getting better, and, when it comes to sex, I love sex, and I think I still do, even, at my age.
Right.
I'm just not, I'm just, let's put it this way. I think I'm getting back into it again after, a year of my life of not being there at all because of all the traumatic circumstances.
Right. So sex and aging.
So one of the things that I learned is that very often when we're younger, we fake orgasms. We make all the
Yes.
So that guys think oh yeah, they're making us satisfied. And I think that as I got older, I realized that in my own right, I could enjoy. And if I wasn't enjoying, you were going to know. And if you didn't touch me right, you were going to know. And if you didn't kiss me right, you were going to know. And so I think the older I got, the more self-confidence I had in myself that I could say, I don't like to be touched that way. I don't like to be kissed that way. Listen to me.
Yes. Huge difference. Truth. Well, there's a lot of talk about menopause lately. It's getting a lot of press. Were you knocked out by menopause?
Not even for 1 minute. I pretty much went through menopause with no symptoms at all. But there's a reason for that, because I worked with women from the time I was 30. The time I was 25, I had an herb shop, and I was mixing up formulas for women that were going through menopause. So I listened to all the different ways that women suffered, and I just went, oh, no, we're never doing this. And so at about 40, I started working on menopause. So I started taking the herbs, taking the supplements, everything that I knew that would help me just breeze through.
What was in those herbs?
I mean, I had no night sweats. I had I just didn't have any of that. I didn't have any irrational moods. I didn't have any vaginal drying.
Wow.
I didn't have any of that. And I still don't have it.
Yeah.
And recently I get my blood tested every year. And so I'm on the phone having this consultation with this doctor who really wants me to take hormones. Okay, because he's into hormone replacement, bioidentical hormones. So he's asking me all these questions. So are you dry? Does sex hurt? He's asking me all these things. How's your libido? It's all coming down to that I should take these, take these bioidentical hormones so that I'll feel so great.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I did this 2 years ago when you told me to do this. And I noticed nothing. I noticed nothing
Yeah.
at all. And he said, oh, well, that's because I gave you a really low dose because you were so hesitant. And I just listened to that and I went, maybe I don't have any hormones, but I'm still alive. I still feel good. I still can do almost everything.
Well, what was in those supplements that you were
Oh, the
concocting?
herbs.
Yeah,
oh,
your
God,
herbs.
I'd have to
The
go
girls
through.
are gonna want to know.
I literally would make formulas with wild yam root, with not just black cohosh, because a lot of people get into black cohosh.
Yeah.
And I just actually don't like black cohosh, particularly not by itself. It needs to be in a formula. Squavine is another one. Motherwort is another one. But everything needs to be synergistically combined.
Right.
So I tend to think that people need to do that based on the individual.
Yes.
So I'm not into general formulas for women.
Sure.
For anybody. And then there were supplements. I can't even remember the supplements. I did, special bone supplements, so that my bones would be okay.
Yeah.
I did, just, all the omegas I did because I knew those were good.
Yeah. You don't make these anymore, do you?
Kept my B vitamins going, whichever things that I remembered were important. That's what I did.
You don't make these little formulas anymore. They're all going to ask. If you could be 30 again, knowing what you know now, what would you change in your life? What would be different?
Oh, I know exactly. I would not have worked so hard.
Really?
I had this feeling that I had to keep pushing. I couldn't say no. I had to keep creating my work. I had to help more people. And I did what nobody should do. If you work physically, therapeutically with people, to work 10-hour days was not intelligent. And now that I'm in my 60s, towards 70, I look at it and laugh and go, what a stupid person I was, and it was, I was creating a body of work. I was raising a daughter. I was, the push of feeling that I had to do it all. And what I know now in my late 60s is I don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
And I actually learned I can ask for help. And I can ask other people to help me. I could never let anybody do that because I had to do it all and I had to prove myself.
That says everything. Doesn't a sense of purpose, doesn't that give you happiness? Doesn't that give you drive?
Oh yeah, but I've had a sense of purpose since I was 11. Everything in my life I felt was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do something really important. Oh yeah. I mean, I was 11 telling my parents, that I'm going to do something to help the world. And they would just go, okay, whatever. We believe in you. And so I was always driven by more and more, how can I help people? How can I help more people? And that's how I translated my hands-on therapy to a ball so that people could learn how to work every single part of their body themselves. And that's how come I simplified the body so that people could actually do this and be very often more successful than most therapists.
Yeah, but not work quite as hard as you did.
Okay. Back when I was 30, there were no computers, there were no cell phones, and so we worked. People had 9-to-5 jobs. We worked. The idea of working, going into my studio at 7 in the morning and coming out at 8 or 9 at night and not eating all day and just working on people was sort of like normal.
Yes.
Because everybody worked really hard because we learned that you had to work really, really hard to get ahead. If I was 30 today with the nomads and the internet, I've learned that I can reach more people in more parts of the world on the internet than I ever did in my fabulous studio. Okay, and so being 30 today is very different than back when we were 30. And just that means you don't have to go into the office every day from 9 to 5.
Yes.
You can keep recreating. You can keep creating more and more. And there's people out there that want to hear what you have to say.
Mm.
And since we've gone online with all of our classes, I mean, you remember the breathing classes. The breathing classes, 80 free days of breathing to help people during the COVID pandemic. We reached thousands of people all over the world that we gave because I wanted to contribute and help people with anxiety and stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was impossible when I was 30. So in a certain way, I'd love to be 30 again and be able to think about that, be able to be that much greater and more expansive worldwide.
Since you know the body so well, is there a difference between a climax and an orgasm?
Absolutely.
There is.
Okay, so there's a school of thought that basically says there's only one orgasm, and that's a clitoral orgasm, okay? And I find that like the least exciting, okay? And so I don't know whether you call it an orgasm or you call it, what else did you call it?
Climax.
A climax. But that deep internal orgasm that you don't get to experience every single time.
No.
So then you take a clitoral orgasm, okay? It's like, okay, it's better than nothing. But when you get that deep one that keeps going and going and going and going and going, that's the real one.
Do you think it's possible for great sex and real love to coexist?
Absolutely. Absolutely, hands down. To me, there's no great sex without real love. Because for me, I mean, you can fuck your brains out with someone, and that could be hot. But then when you really get connection with somebody, and it's really deep, and it's because they get you, and you get them, and there's really love, there's nothing like that. Then it can just keep going, and then you want more, and you want more, and you want more.
Is there a part of your life you miss in the past? Whether it's your momhood or, I don't know.
That's a hard one because I've lost 2 loves of my life. Okay, so you're talking to someone that knows loss, and lost my mother, and almost lost my daughter this year. So is there a part of my life that I miss? You know, there's a lot, but, you know, the thing that all of this has taught me is that I'm supposed to stick around till I'm 85 and keep on dancing.
So what's home to you now? Is it New York?
You know, in an esoteric way, home is sort of a state of mind. You know, wherever you are, that becomes your home. But when I landed on the island of Ibiza when I was 30, I immediately went, oh, this is home. And so if I think about where do I believe my home is this time around in life, it's the island of Ibiza. Do I have a home in New York? Yes. I used to love New York. I used to love splitting my time between Ibiza and New York, and then traveling around the world teaching. And now I don't love New York the way I once did. I don't love it post-pandemic. I love the theater. I love dance. I love music. I love some of the stuff that New York has that just nowhere else is cool, is as cool.
But what is it about Ibiza?
Ibiza is my home.
Just it was something in the air.
You know, there's some kind of spiritual energy. There's something there where, you know, and like-minded people get attracted to the island. And so the minute you're there, you immediately realize that everybody there that you become friends with is like you in that way of that they've been a little bit different in their life.
Yes.
They are not, sucking it up to everybody. They're not, trying to fit in. Actually, the opposite. They've done everything their own way. They've created their life their own way. And so that it's a place where you can just be. Nobody asks you what you do for a living. Nobody cares how much money you make, even though it's becoming like ridiculously, for the rich. Still, those people come because they want to get away from all that other stuff too. And so it's a place where you find your niche, and you're home, and you're quiet, and you've got the sea, and you've got fresh air, and good friends.
What is next for you? Is there a next in your life? Of course there is, but
I'm always creating next. I feel like last year I had a sabbatical from Next, with the traumas that were going on. And so right now I'm working on a manual that I can train people to work with people that have all kinds of mouth tension. Because one of the things I learned during the pandemic was how many people were waking up with pain in their jaws, headaches, neck, grinding their teeth away. And so I started offering these classes online that were hugely successful. So now I want to help more people. So I'm going to train people to be able to help other people stop their tension and nervous patterns in their mouth. And this is not just clenching and grinding. There's all these little things that people do to create tension buildup. So that's one thing I'm working on. The other is that I realize that every time something happens in my life that could be seen as something negative, how do you turn it into a positive?
Yeah.
So I had this hip replacement, and people think,
Wow, she had a hip replacement.
how could that happen? But the truth was, I wore my body out. I worked too hard. I did too much.
Yeah.
Stupid. But part of what I learned from that is all the things you need to do pre-hip replacement, post-hip replacement, and how to keep your body as balanced as possible so that for the next 20 or 30 years, nothing gives way. And so I'm working on that so that can be something that can help a lot of people, because more and more people are getting hip replacements. There's something, I've got a couple other things that I'm thinking about working on creating. There's a doctor in Mexico who's doing extraordinary work in helping people heal. So I'd like to go there and work on his team a bit and learn and see just where my work fits in to help people.
So there's no retirement in your future.
And I've got another couple books in there I'd like to write.
So there is no such thing as retirement. Not for you.
I don't think so.
No. Ever been interested, or have you ever practiced open relationships?
Here's my idea about open relationships.
Ooh.
Because I know a bunch of people that have.
Yeah.
And in my studio over the years working on people, I would listen to people's stories.
Sure.
And my husband at one point, he said to me, you said you would do anything once. And I said, like what? What do you have in mind? And he said, a ménage à trois. And I said, oh, 2 men and a woman? He said, no. He said, 2 women and me. And I went, are you sure? I said, what if you see that the woman and I touch each other so much better than you could ever do? What if you realize that we're liking each other better than whatever you can do? And what's that going to do to you as a man? And then what if you've wakened up a whole other thing in me that says, wow, you know what? I think I'd rather be with her. Do you want to go there? You see, if it's just about sex, cool. Have as many partners if you want. All this, what's it called? Amorphous. What's it called? The people that can't have one person.
Oh, polyamory.
Polyamorous, right? If that's your thing,
Yeah.
and you love the one you're with, okay, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, right? Love the one you're with. Yeah, go for it. But if you want to ever get deep connection with someone, it's pretty hard to spread yourself out. Okay, it just doesn't work.
So, do you give a fuck about what other people think of you?
I never have. I never have. So I've always been a weirdo. I've always been on the fringe. Everything I've ever done in my life is different, from all of my work to, the way I choose to live. And as you get older, then you really don't give a damn anymore. If you've ever seen old ladies where they're like, all of a sudden you see these 80-year-old women, swearing and being mean to people, and they're like, I deserve it. I can say whatever I want. So I'm not mean about it, but,
Never. So,
one of the things that I noticed today in young girls, and we're talking maybe 18 to 30, they try too hard. And I look at it and I go, we didn't try.
you mean to be sexual?
Yeah, we didn't try too hard. We didn't. Number one, there weren't selfies, so we weren't taking 25 pictures of ourselves posing, with our chest out and our, we didn't do any of that. But the point is that these girls just seem to be trying so hard. Whether it's whether it's their clothing, whether it's their makeup, whether it's their attitude. It's like they work too hard at it. And there's nothing wrong with just being me, being you, and to try to be what you think is sexy, is hot, is the one that some guy's gonna want.
Yeah.
Women today seem to be missing it. That guys don't want any of that kind of trying too hard stuff. They want you real. They want you real. And if you think real is putting on your sexiest clothes and your stilettos and your false eyelashes and taking selfies of yourself in a corner in a disco with your girlfriend, it's not hot. It's not sexy. And just be you.